Hey everyone, Josh Taylor here from Canine Education. I am here once again with the great Dr. KJ Goldenberg. How's it going?
Thank you. It's going so great, Josh. I'm really happy to be here with you.
I am in your place right now, Royal Vet in DDO, and oh my goodness.
How exciting is it?
It is incredible. It is by far one of the best looking clinics I've seen in a long time.
Thank you. You know what? It's beautiful and it makes a difference because you walk in and you just feel the staff and the patients coming in. You just feel, okay.
Yeah.
It's not a clinic. It's not stressful. We just feels good to be here.
Yeah, it feels zen.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal.
I remember when I went to your DeCarry, the one off of DeCarry there.
Yep.
Same thing, you know, it was like so zen. I loved it. It was super great. Well, we are going to do a little bit more of a deep dive in what we were talking about. We got a lot of hits last time about what we were talking about, which was the anxiety and the resource guarding.
Resource guarding that we're seeing so much of. Yeah.
So today we figured, we'd dive a little bit more into that, I guess.
Yeah, and I think we can talk a bit more about the medical side of it because it's a behavioral disease that we see, but there's some other things that can be going on in the body that make it happen. We're doing so much research, we're learning so much about the mind-body connection. You hear about it with people, and we know it's the same for dogs. And the things we're seeing are very interesting. And there are a lot of things you kind of have to think of and look at before just focusing on the behavior.
I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When I'm going to a client's house, there's a lot of things we look at. It's not just the basics, I guess you could say. We kind of get into a little bit of the diet, what the regimen is like. Active rest is a big thing for me. Mm-hmm. So if we're looking at it from like a medical standpoint, how about I kick it off like this? Might be repeating myself a little bit from last time, but that's okay.
Yeah, let's do a bit of a recap almost.
Yeah, one thing that I think I get a lot of, and it's sometimes it's difficult for me to exactly tell them what I should or let them know like how or what it's going to be like, but I have a lot of issues with resource guarders and getting them to understand what medication can do for them. Mm-hmm. So let me give you kind of like a picture here. So I have a client and it could be a scenario where the dog jumped on the couch and we don't allow our dog on the couch. And so hence they go over and they're asking their dog to get off and the dog is already showing teeth. Mm-hmm. The dog is laying down, not even chewing the bone, but the bone is nearby, and my client walks by and gets bit on the ankle. And so, I'm doing protocols like, okay, we're going to build trust. We're going to work on active rest. We want to have zones where the dog feels safe, where I can have this. I'm not, there's no, situation where someone is going to walk by or whatever. So I work on those things among other things. But when I kind of come to the end and I say, oh boy, okay, the risk is high.
Yeah,
and then you come in.
I hope I come in before that. I hope I come in before people are at the end of their rope, because here's where it's really going to help is all of the work that you're doing of getting a zone where the dog feels safe, getting a space we can work within to build that trust. Once the dog is already in resource guarding mode, activated mode, going up the ladder of aggression or reactivity, the red zone, whatever you want to call it, once they're already there in survival, fight, or flight mode, their brain is not in rational mode, which means they cannot learn. What medication does is it gives us a bigger access to the rational brain. So you're going to, I'll say chemically alter the brain. That makes it sound very big and scary, but you're talking about using the normal hormones and messages in the brain, serotonin, dopamine, that the dog needs to learn and understand that they're safe, that maybe they have a deficiency of, or their brain isn't absorbing those chemicals well. You have to have everything there lined up to be able to work with the dog.
Okay.
So if they're going from 0 to 100 in a millisecond, if you can't get within 10 feet of the dog near the bone, it's really hard to do your side of the work of building that trust in that safe zone.
Exactly.
So the medication is going to give you a bigger bubble. Maybe instead of going from 0 to 100 in a millisecond, it'll be in 2 seconds, which doesn't sound like a ton, but that's enough for you to give them a command, get a treat out, toss a treat, do whatever protocols and work you're trying to do to give the dog tools to learn different ways of responding. It's buying you time, it's buying you space, it's buying the dog that calm, safety, and trust. That's what the medication does, is it keeps us in that rational mind, that safe and trusting mind where we can learn longer. The dog will still react. The dog will still you still have to do the work. The pill doesn't fix a problem.
Right.
It gives you more space to work within that problem.
Yeah.
There's also tons of other things
Right.
that are going to help that medication work better or address the problem of why is the dog even reacting or guarding in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and I like what I said before too about like, and then you come in kind of thing. I guess it's because I guess where I'm at now in dog training, I typically, unfortunately, I'm already the last resort. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? I'm usually, maybe it's my marketing, but for example, I'll be the third trainer.
Yeah.
Oh, we had 2-3 trainers come in already.
And
nothing's happening.
That's totally what we see. And, it's great that there's access to so many resources online and support groups and chats and online training, which, you do also. I see that too. People come in and they've spoken to friends and they've spoken to other trainers and they've looked online at XYZ and they've gotten a bunch of advice. And a lot of it probably is good advice, but they're implementing it alone. If you're looking online and then implementing it yourself without guidance, you might be making small mistakes, your timing's off, or what I'm seeing so much of is you're missing the early signs. If your dog's going from 0 to 100, to you it may look like a millisecond, but an experienced trainer, a vet who has behavior experience, is going to catch 1 through 75 where you may not see it because it's such subtle dog body language or it happens so quickly.
Oh, I have goosebumps.
Those dogs,
because that's so true.
Those dogs are learning, my owner misses 0 to 75, I'm going to go straight to 100 because that's all they hear. If grandma's deaf, I'm not going to whisper to her, I'm going to yell. And that's what those dogs are learning. And it's not because the owners are doing anything wrong per se. This isn't their specialty. It's their pet, their family member. They're just missing those really early dog signs. And having someone physically in your home, like you said, you come in, you look at all of these factors, you're catching those earlier things. So I really feel for people that have tried 3 trainers and online and this and that, but they're alone at home struggling and they've been missing things that they could have gotten to sooner.
That is spot on, I have to say, because yes, I have so many scenarios that I could even, for example, I'll be at someone's home and I'll be like, I would back away. And they're like, what did you see? And I'm like, well, the dog was not happy. Oh, really? I didn't even notice. So I get that a lot. And some dogs can be very covert, but there's these small little angles that we see because we're just so used to it.
Yeah. Dog body language is so subtle. And when they read it well between each other, you can catch things super, super early. But look, we're people. We're used to talking. We're not so used to body language. We miss a lot. And I'll say I miss a ton. I tell people to take videos and then I'll watch the video 5 times over and I'll watch it in slow-mo to see what I'm missing because I know there's a signal. It's there. Yeah. I'm missing it. We're missing it. The dog is definitely giving a signal. He's not going straight to 100.
Yeah, I've actually, I don't think I've ever witnessed an attack where it was in my head, in my brain, where it was 0 to 100. Almost never. I've seen Ring, the doorbell
camera stuff. Yep.
I've seen videos from clients where the dog has gone out and attacked someone for whatever reason, and even in those scenarios, I can see it happening before it's even happened, versus a lot of people will say like, it came out of nowhere, kind of thing. So
yeah, and a lot of the time we will see dogs, especially when we're getting into the range of what we would really call mental illness and real behavioral disorders with pets, is that 0 to 100 is shortened. It's happening faster. They're skipping steps, and that is part of the diagnosis of behavioral disorders and mental illness in pets. A lot of that is a learned skipping because they learned that their earlier signals aren't understood, respected. They skip them because they kind of learned there's no point. So a dog who used to lick his lips and turn away, and we didn't understand that that meant, please don't get in my space right now, is going to go straight to growling and snapping. A dog who used to growl and got told, no, hey, don't growl, is going to go straight to snapping because his growl doesn't get the response he needs. If he bites, you leave him alone. You move out of his space. Growling gets you more in his space. And I always tell people, dog growls at me, I say, oh, thank you so much. That was a clear message, and I can respect that. Growl is the safest clear message a dog can give. Thank you for growling.
I wish everyone had egos like you. Unfortunately, I have a lot of people where they believe in their mind, and I'm with you. I try to explain it all the time. I have people where in their mind they think that it's just so disrespectful. The growl, for example, it's just so disrespectful that what do you mean? Like I'm supposed to walk away? Then the dog thinks like he's in charge or this or that. And I keep telling people that this is not the case. You know, that you don't want to look at it like that. If you could say like one phrase to just kind of get people to maybe wake up a little bit. I'm being pretty straightforward, but to wake up a little bit and kind of be like, you know, walking away when a dog is showing teeth doesn't mean you're giving in to the bad behavior. What is
dogs don't want control. That's not in their instinct, in their behavior. I mean, we've heard a lot about dominant theory and all of that, and we know that scientifically that really is all disproven.
Yeah.
Dogs want instinctually, what we all want is you want safety, security, food, resources. You want to feel safe with your resources. And that's not strictly speaking resource guarding, because my dog who doesn't resource guard wants to feel safe with his food resources. He happens to feel safe if I'm right next to him or not.
Of course.
But what they're asking for is safety. So it's not control of don't come near me. It's I don't feel safe. And we talked last time a lot about how, you know, we compare our dogs to our kids. Yeah. And like, for better or for worse, there's a lot of reality. It's the same as how, you know, we used to talk a lot about like, oh, kids shouldn't backtalk and they need to just obey and listen. And now we're saying, well, but they need to understand why we're asking. And there's a bit more of a conversation of respecting a kid's right to express themselves and consent to something. And it's the same for dogs of, why shouldn't your dog have a little bit of consent? If you're talking about safety, okay, my dog can't run into the street. I'm going to grab his leash. Hopefully he's very comfortable with me grabbing his leash and pulling him backwards. And, you know, he's not going to snap at me for that. He might get scared. He might not like it. We'll rebuild our trust and relationship from that. That's a safety security issue. When he's playing with his bone and just saying, hey, instead of being right next to me, could you be 10 feet away? I'm more comfortable with that. Okay, buddy. What's wrong with respecting that?
Agreed. Yeah. I just find that, you know, there's still a lot of narrow-minded.
Yeah, it's just dogs don't, it's just not in them. They don't want control. They want safety.
Yeah.
It just, control doesn't exist in a dog's brain.
And that right there, you know, we talk about emotions, and like we you know, dogs do have emotions. But that right there, like control, which I understand is not an emotion, but I mean control in itself. Yes, you're absolutely right. I find that people always go to the worst just because the thought process is of people, but it's a dog. Mm-hmm. So, you know, like, oh, the dog peed when I left out of spite.
Yeah.
Have you heard that one before?
All the time. It's spite. He was mad at me because I left him alone too long. Or no, he. You know what peeing on the floor is? It's a panic attack.
But what, that's the thing, that I know we're getting a little off here, but like, what is it that gets people into the mindset of like, it's bad.
You know what I think it is?
He's doing it on purpose.
Here's what I actually think it is I think people are a little bit stressed, a little bit guilty of, I want my dog's behavior to be perfect because otherwise it reflects poorly on me. I'm the person with the dog who growls and bites. I'm the person with the dog. What did I do wrong? I didn't raise them right. I'm not giving them what they need. It comes a lot to my responsibility for my pet. And so I'm going to reflect that emotion of guilt of assuming the dog's bad. It's like that outward negative emotion that I'm feeling inward. And it comes back to people feeling kind of lost and not knowing what to do. And if you came for the right resources, you'd learn very quickly that your dog's not spiteful and your dog's not controlling and your dog's not dominant, but you kind of have to assume the worst because otherwise it's your fault and you feel guilty. I really feel like that's where it's coming from.
That makes a lot of sense.
Society wants our dogs to be perfect. And you're so scared your dog is going to bark so much that the neighbors complain and bite someone that you only accept perfection from them. But a growl is not a bite, and a growl is a good thing.
And I guess in a way that could be, we're humanizing, but a little to the kind of like the
we're
extreme.
giving this dog a lot of emotional
because I know
maturity that it just doesn't have. We're anthropomorphizing, giving these human things that a dog just does not have that emotional responsibility on itself, and it shouldn't. And we don't have that emotional responsibility.
Yeah, so true. And I mean, you could, I know select few friends where their parents were like perfection. Like, you know what I mean? Like everything has to be perfect. You're supposed to become this. You're supposed to go to school for this or whatever. So I guess, yeah, in some ways too, you can see how that can also kind of become humanized with dogs, right? And where everything has to be perfect. And I always said this, which was like, I find that sometimes people think that the dog is like a product. Like, okay, I have the buttons. I went to obedience school. I should be able to just press the button and the dog does it.
Yeah, I programmed my computer.
Yeah,
I did
like
the software updates.
Yeah, like everything's good. Like, why isn't it working the way it should be?
Yeah.
And I think they, and I don't mean this in like a condescending way, but I think people forget that like dogs have brains.
Yeah.
Dogs have like souls.
Yeah. And we are asking dogs more and more to live in our very human world. If you look at, they used to be the outdoor dogs. They used to be the street dogs. They came indoors, but they were still dogs. But this generation, they're family dogs. They're family pets. They are part of our family. Some people consider them like their kids. Some people say, no, it's still a dog. Both are okay. It's how you feel with your family. But they're living a human-centered life day to day. And yes, they're domesticated. Yes, they're equipped for it. But we have to teach them a lot of those skills because at the end of the day, they're still dogs. So if they're going to function by human rules in a human world, we really do have to equip them for that. And when they are not equipped for it, it's not them being bad. It's just a lack of tools. And okay, but let me give you the tools. You're not bad. We're going to work on this.
Yeah, makes total sense. That was really good. Just getting your perspective. Are you a psychologist as well? Because that was really good.
Dog psychology, right? You know what? You see it with dogs, and I will say, look, my kids are 4.5 now. Like, more and more.
4.5?
See,
oh my God, time
it
flies.
went, more and more, I see it in the shift in how we raise our pets and how we raise our kids. And I really do mean that in a good way, in that the souls that we're responsible for, they're not responsible to be obedient and listen. We're responsible for helping them grow, develop, and be their best selves. And I really do approach raising my kids and my dogs very similarly in that, one speaks dogs and one speaks English, human, but it's the same kind of approach. You just have to meet them where they're at.
Yeah. Well, this is totally off topic and maybe a little personal, but like when it comes to my kids, for example, I've been doing a little thing that it's almost I preach something with my dog training, and then something I do with my kids, which I kind of said to myself, like I corrected myself. I was like, oh man, like I need to work on that. I have a big issue with saying because I said so, because I'm dad,
right?
And I said so. So you need to do it. And I don't have that when I'm dealing with clients about the dog. And they say, well, you know, he's supposed to just, I go, well, no, it's not like that. But then here I am going home. And then my son says, why do I have to wear gloves outside? And instead of me explaining, I care about you, you know, I know you might not care about it, but I want you to have the gloves on because you're going to feel warm and blah, 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 right? Instead, it's, well, because I want you to wear gloves and that's it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I catch myself all the time when my kid's having a tantrum. I have to remind myself, it's like a dog in red zone. My kid's in fight or flight. They're not in rational mode. I cannot rationalize with my daughter why she can't have the pink cup because it's in the dishwasher. She's gone. I just have to deal with the emotion and teach the skills later.
Totally makes sense.
And you know what? Similarly to that, I'm so going to go on the kids' tangent. They can't tell you what else is going on behind the emotion. You know, what else happened that day? People who say, you know, some days I go for the walk and my dog is perfectly fine. He's going to bark at one or two dogs, or I feed him his meal and he eats it right away. He doesn't mind if I'm standing next to him. And some days it's completely unpredictable. I say, well, what else happened that day? You know, maybe it's garbage day and those garbage trucks going by were really loud and that got the stress. He didn't outwardly react, but he went, oh, I don't like that loud noise. That's bothering me. And then later, a dog walked by and was barking at him through the window and he barked back through the window and he didn't fully recover from that. So then you go out for the walk and he's already more reactive. And as I say with the kids, it's the same thing. They come home from daycare and they're just a total breakdown because you don't know what stress has happened during the day. In pets, we call it trigger stacking, right?
Yeah, trigger stacking.
I don't even know what you call it in kids.
I talk about the cup filling.
The cup filling, exactly. And a lot of the pets, what I'm seeing is they have chronic triggers that we don't even know about. I'm talking about a pet with allergies. You know those pets who they're always a little bit itchy, they're licking their paws, they're scratching their ears. Well, when that ear scratching turns into an ear infection, I can guarantee you that dog's stress, anxiety, aggression, reactivity is going to be 10 times worse. Think of the days that you have a chronic headache. I've had a headache all day. I didn't have my coffee. I didn't sleep well. No patience for your kids. You're going to snap. You're going to yell.
That's true.
Because your cup is already too full.
Yeah.
You don't have the mental capacity, the emotional capacity to deal with something more. So these pets that have chronic pain, maybe it's an older dog with arthritis who used to be super tolerant, who all of a sudden started a new aggressive behavior. Well, maybe his arthritis is hurting. Maybe the itchy dog with allergies is just so bothered by being itchy all of the time.
This is why we typically, let's dive into that a little bit. This is typically why any trainer, when these kind of calls come in, one of the first questions should always be, have you gone to the vet? Have you gotten just a general checkup? Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
That should be
Either make sure there isn't an underlying medical cause, a source of pain, a source of discomfort, or really an internal organ hormonal disbalance that can directly cause behavior things, but just an underlying something bothering them that's making them more on edge. Either make sure it isn't that or diagnose it and start treating it, because you can work on the behavior as much as you want. But if your dog is living at a 7 out of 10, he's going to react a lot faster than you treat that dog's allergies, and now he's living on a 0 to 3 out of 10.
Right. Yeah,
that's
big difference.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
And no amount of training in the world can make up for that. And even the behavioral medications that we've spoken about, those aren't going to make up for it, because you're not talking about a deficiency of serotonin in the brain. You're talking about that serotonin's getting used up dealing with my chronic pain.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't see how anyone listening can't relate to that. in some way.
Oh yeah, we've all had.
Exactly. Even like what you just said, even if it's just a migraine or a headache, and just that, like the music's a little too loud. Just that, that pinch, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like so. I feel like if people look at it like that I think makes a lot of sense for the general public to just be like, okay, if it's like this, and why wouldn't it be, right? Like, why wouldn't it be? The thing is that they can mask it a lot better than us, to a degree.
And there's a lot of things that dogs don't say. And if you actually look in the research, it's very interesting. There are some great studies that came out, some of them a couple years ago, but they're continuing to come out more and more, where we used to say that a dog licking its paws was anxiety, like a nervous tick.
Yeah.
They fully scientific study disproved that. You took those dogs that were licking their paws. I did not know this. And they have other signs of anxiety. I'm sure they have anxiety too. But there was not a single dog in that study that licked its paws that did not also have a skin condition or an allergy.
Really?
So yes, they had anxiety, and maybe licking their paws was part of the self-soothing. We know licking in general, licking the Kong, licking surfaces, that releases those calming hormones. But if they're specifically licking their paws or something else, if they're licking their paws to the point of losing fur, turning red, getting infected, they have a medical condition. That is not an anxiety lick. If they are licking a surface to the point of ingesting like a stuffed animal to the point that makes them throw up, or even those dogs who get blockages and need surgery, they probably have a digestive medical condition.
Wow.
They are not licking just because of anxiety. They may also have anxiety. But so now if you know that and you say, this may be a sign of your anxiety, but it's also a sign of a medical condition. Until I treat the medical condition, how can I possibly get your anxiety under control? Exactly.
I mean, that makes so much sense. I have so many, past, present, future clients who are in some kind of boat like that, where they've figured out a way to manage it. Medication has come into play, underlying issue, no names obviously, but probably my most graphic, case was a Chesapeake Bay Retriever. I mean, the breed doesn't really have anything to do with it, but Chesapeake Bay Retriever, just to give reference, I guess, but bit a girl in the face really bad. Like, I mean, we're talking like, I think like a few reconstructed surgeries. Like, Jeez. Really bad. The dog was very old. And the situation was, I believe, something to do with arthritis. And the girl did exactly what she did. It was her dog. She did exactly what she did every day, whether it was a hug or a kiss or a good night or whatever it was. Which, there's other things to do with that, like stopthe77.com and all that type of stuff with the hugging and the holding and but the point is that this was going on for years and years and years, and then this time she went in and that happened. That's one of those really tragic ones where very likely the dog was showing some signs of, hey, I don't like being, let's say, hugged. If we had videos of it, maybe the dog had a little, but it's his owner and he loves her, so he's going to tolerate it. Just like us. Okay, maybe I'm not a huggy person, but my husband's a huggy person. I'm going to let him hug me. He likes the hug, and I'm going to go, But the day that I'm really not feeling well, don't touch me. So that dog was putting up with hugs for, he didn't love the hugs, but he loves his owner, and his owner loves the hugs. He went, okay, this is how we show affection. It's part of our relationship. I tolerate it because of that bank of trust. Today, I just didn't have patience for it, and I snapped. And it's really tragic when it happens that way. And when you look back and say, like, this person clearly didn't do anything wrong. Right. And also you can look back and say, if I have really good knowledge of dog body language, could I have detected that discomfort sooner behaviorally of, hey, I don't love hugs, and I could have chosen to show my affection to my dog differently? And if I had detected signs of pain or sat down with my vet and said, hey, my dog's getting older, what should I be looking for? And just gotten some really good advice on noticing and treating pain,
we could have not ended up in that situation. So at least people listening today, the next person can say, hey, I should really pay attention to those things. If my dog is getting less tolerant, more snappy, maybe there's something medical going on. The number of dogs we see with stomach issues, if I have heartburn, I can tell you I have heartburn. I'm feeling some reflux. I don't like it. But you're not seeing anything outward. With people, they'll always say, well, my dog's eating. He's not throwing up. He's not having diarrhea. Well, if I have heartburn, that hurts. That's uncomfortable. I'm not throwing up. I'm not having diarrhea. I'm still eating. That dog could be having heartburn every day.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Which is freaking irritating.
Yeah, like that's
yeah.
painful.
Yeah.
That takes 5 spoons off my plate for the day. You know, however you want to say what your tolerance for the day is. If they're walking around with that, you have no way of knowing. You know what? It might not show up on a vet exam. It might not even show up on blood work. But if you tell your vet, he's acting more irritated, let's go looking for, okay, now we know specific things to look for. Maybe we can, does your dog need an antacid trial? Does your dog need a special diet trial? There's a million things we could try. What you report to your vet is going to help guide them on what to try. And it's what I'm doing with my behavior cases is I'm really scratching the surface of, do we have digestive issues? Do we have allergy issues? Do we have bone pain, joint pain issues? Are we losing our hearing so that when, we're sleeping and something startles us out of sleep, we're more surprised? I'm really looking at all of those medical things that might not in of itself have a symptom, but will show up as a behavior concern, and let's treat them. And you get so much more success when you treat those.
I can imagine. So let's go to the other side of that. Let's say, I know it's hard to really kind of say that, but let's pretend there's no underlying issues, okay? But let's talk about prevention. Let's talk about, I got a dog and everyone is like, well, this is probably the calmest puppy I've ever seen. Or the quietest dog I've ever seen. I don't know about you, but I have, because it's been almost 20 years now, I've noticed a trend over the years. I've noticed a trend of people that say those type of little comments like, oh, he was such a quiet dog. We could go to a soccer game and sit down and he would just like sit there at 3 months old and he would just sit there, like he wouldn't do anything. I get this a lot, and now they're in my office because the dog is very, very, very fearful, very reactive, but in a fearful state. I mean, it's normally fear anyways, but my point is that I'm starting to think that people are missing a lot of pictures.
Yeah, I think there's 2 things that's happening. I get these too. He was great until X, Y, Z. And people tend to find kind of a landmark that I'll take with a grain of salt. That he was great until he was a year old. He was great until his shots. He was great until his neuter.
Right.
Sometimes, yes, that's a traumatic event. They get stressed because of the neuter, the surgery. It was painful. And that can be kind of a triggering event. But a lot of the time, it's just what age it tends to happen because they've got these developmental stages. Sometimes it's that we were missing the very early signs of stress because we don't know the body language, we weren't looking specifically for those things. And sometimes it's because we're taking it on prend pour acquis. We're just assuming that my calm puppy will become a calm adult dog. And because they're such an easy puppy, we're not doing the specific socialization steps. So we're not giving the dog tools. So maybe the dog naturally has certain tools, but then they get to a certain point in their life where the tools they were born naturally with don't work anymore, and we have not given them new tools. And that's where the training comes in. And that's where my number one for socializing, I think we've discussed this before, we have the same thing, is do nothing. Actively teach your dog to do nothing. Yeah. If your calm, quiet puppy is sitting there doing nothing, watching a soccer game, maybe it's because they're frozen in fear. Maybe it's because they're hiding under your chair watching and actually hypervigilant, eyes wide looking around, but doing it quietly so that they're not drawing your attention. You're not looking at them because they're not barking or whining. it's possible they're showing anxiety signs. Look for that. But also, anytime they are sitting there quietly, calmly, reward that, mark it. Because if you don't tell the dog, yes, this is exactly what I want, they may at some point decide to do something else. Yeah. Because they weren't specifically told this is a good thing. It wasn't rewarded. It wasn't solidified in their behavioral toolkit. Teaching a dog to do nothing is such a skill, because most of our complaints are my dog is doing something that I don't want. And the answer to that is nothing.
Exactly.
Sit on your front porch. I tell people have breakfast dates with your puppy. Sit on your front porch and give him his breakfast kibble one at a time. Someone walks by, kibble. Car goes by, kibble. Big noisy truck goes by, kibble. So that they learn sitting here and watching gets me my owner's attention, gets me kibble, that reward circuit in the brain of building up your dopamine, your serotonin. You solidify that pathway of, I can sit and watch. Go do it on a park bench. Go do it at a bus stop. Go do it across from a playground with kids running and screaming. Your dog should sit and watch the world and do nothing. Because otherwise what we tend to do is we go on a walk and every single person will pray, oh, what a cute puppy, can I pet him? Oh, go say hi to my dog loves dogs, go say hi. And these on-leash greetings, first of all, is actually the highest stress thing for a dog. And honestly, dogs do not need the skill of on-leash greetings. Dogs need the skill of go sit on my far side and wait while I talk to my friend with their dog on the other side. Sit and wait is way better than an on-leash greeting. But that actually just leads to all of these stressful greetings. And then what's your dog learning? Every time I see a dog or a person, I should pull at the end of the leash to go greet them because that's what I was taught to do.
Yeah.
But that's not what we want long term.
Absolutely.
We want our dog to greet certain people, certain dogs when they come into a house for a play date, when we are in an off-leash safe area, when we're in our puppy classes. Off-leash safe greetings, great. In-house greetings, great. Learn those skills. When I'm on a leash, my skill is to sit and pay attention to my owner and sniff around the fun grass environment with fun smells. I'm not pulling and looking to go greet anyone when I'm on a leash. Learn to do nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. And to go with what you were just saying before too about rewarding nothing, it's probably one of the number one things I tell people is reward nothing. And one of the most common comments I get from that, so I'm going to kind of debunk that right now, is when we were mentioning like the soccer game and maybe the dog is a little nervous or fearful or whatever, and everything is going good though, the dog is quiet, quote unquote, and when this is happening and we're saying, reward nothing, just keep in mind that you're consoling the dog, letting the dog know that everything is good too, while the dog is doing nothing. But at the same time, you are not, I repeat, you are not rewarding fear.
Oh my goodness.
I know, but I have to say it.
You have to say it. Repeat it all day, all night.
Yeah. You are not rewarding fear if you are petting your dog and your dog happens to be slightly nervous or scared at that soccer game. So I want you to know that it is perfectly fine for you to console, to reward your dog, to pet them. You will not reward this fear of whatever the situation is in the scenario. Now, if your dog is barking actively at the soccer players, of course I would not be petting my dog and saying good job. But again, just to clarify that, you can absolutely pet your dog and reward your dog, even in settings where they might feel a little uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. I think that's important to bring up.
It's super important. And we'll go back to what I said really early on of when you're in your fight or flight survival brain, you are not in your rational learning brain. Therefore, your dog cannot learn to be more fearful by you rewarding it. And anything that brings them back down to rational brain where they can learn is the right thing to do. So petting them, calming them down, giving them a treat, if that gets them to a calm place, that is what you want to do. And then from that calm place, continue to reward them for staying calm. And now they're learning. So I will even dare to say, if they're already barking at the soccer player, I'm not going to just sit there petting them, but I would distract them, move a bit farther away. And yes, even console them. Maybe if it's a puppy, I'm going to pick it up and have it on my lap. Do you feel a little bit more comfortable? And then as soon as they're calm, I'm going to reward them.
Yeah.
And then from that calm point, I'm going to keep rewarding, distracting, doing what I need to do for them to stay calm. Once they've already gone into reactive emergency mode, I do anything it takes to get them out of that mode. And then I say, okay, that was a mistake. We didn't want that to happen. Now I'm going to work to keep them in calm mode.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just too much. And it's like, okay, let's back off. This is a little too much. We bit off more than we can chew. And, okay, we're back in a good zone. This is a good spot. Whether it's distance, whether it's consoling a little bit more, holding, touching, feeling.
Yeah.
Even that sometimes can just bring the level down. But yeah, when they're gone, usually for me at least in the scenarios where I'm dealing with reactivity, it's a lot of like, okay, let me back up here.
A lot of physical distance.
Yeah, that's it. But no, that was some really, really great information. You know what? We should figure out something where we do some kind of program where we get people to understand true body language, just in general, like new puppy owners or something. I don't know what,
like
but just
a body language workshop.
Some kind of workshop like that, but I think it should be something that is consistent, where it's almost on a regular. Don't get me wrong, I know you're a busy person, but
this is important stuff, though.
If we can figure something like that out, maybe it might be an online course. That we collaborate or we do something together. But I think it would be super great to get people to understand a little bit more of what those body languages look like, especially as they're growing up. So even things where people might not really notice. I can't tell you how many clients are crying, which is perfectly fine, but they're crying because the two dogs are playing and they think it's too much. Like they think it's aggression. And I'm like, no. I'm like, they're fine. They're having a blast. They love it.
Oh yeah, I've got a dog that growls while he's playing. He also humps while he's playing. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
It takes a certain person to tolerate my dog at the dog park because they think he's aggressive. They think he's dominant. He's just having a great time.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just about pointing them in the right directions. Like there's some good videos. Don't get me wrong. Dr. Dunbar from the Dunbar Academy, for example, they have some really great content on body language and stuff like that. But having said that, even as popular as the Dunbar Academy is and so on, we still have people
we've got to make it accessible.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll cut this out if you don't agree with me. But here's what I'm going to propose. Is I think people should send us videos of their pets. Of like, hey, what's this body language? And we can post it on social media and we'll do like a little poll. What do you think? Is this dog happy, excited, scared, whatever? We'll let everyone vote.
Ooh.
And then we'll give a little breakdown of what we're seeing.
I am definitely not editing this out. This is...
How fun is that?
I think that will be really fun.
I think that's cool.
And you never know where that could take us. Maybe that can lead to us having our own little... a site where it's all about body language and we're just getting video after video.
We can just have a great repertoire of like a library of videos that people can say like, this is what, because it depends on breeds, right? Because you've got, not so much anymore, but you've got breeds with docked tails and docked ears. Their body language looks very different. You've got ones with floppy ears, and it's hard to tell if their ears are forward or back. You've got the ones that the hair goes up on the back, or those it doesn't, short hair, long hair. We could just have a whole library of find the situation and find a dog that looks a little bit like yours, and you can look at it and see, can you find those cues? And like I said, you watch it over and over and you watch it in slow motion, you'll be amazed. You'll catch something new each time.
Oh, I think we're going to have to create something. So, everyone, just before we finish up, I'm going to put our social links on the post, on the podcast, because I am going to take some pictures of this beautiful Royal Vet in DDO. And especially for our listeners, I know we have listeners in Australia and all over. So what we can at least do is KJ and I are going to figure out some way where we can get that going. So if you have videos of dogs playing or whatever the case is, could maybe even be a resource guard situation. I mean, I think you know what that is.
Well, but you know what? Maybe you don't. Take a video of your pet eating their food or chewing their bone. Send it to us. If you think your pet has zero anxiety from you taking their bone away, please don't take it away if you're not sure. But if your dog lets you take their bone away, no problem, send us that video. Let's see. Let's see if they have any anxiety.
I've had videos like that where I cringe.
Right?
Because I'm like, oh my goodness, like you are very lucky that you didn't lose your hand.
Yeah, don't do anything to solicit a bite. But if you think there's no anxiety showing, let's see what we can find. Let's see what early warning signs we can find and work on. Okay,
so a little challenge with the podcast is we are asking any of you to send videos. I will put an email in. It could be email. I'll put it in the link below. It could also be even our Instagram. You could just send it to, DM us. Or even when I post this, I'm sure I'll have a little picture or snippet of KJ and I or whatever. You can even put it in those comments below. All right. And from there, we'll be able to look at some of the videos and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's exciting.
KJ, thank you so much. Again, everyone, Royal Vet is now open in DDO. KJ and I, we synergize. We do a lot of behavioral. If you are having issues or you think that medical could be, something, or you even need to just rule out that, maybe my dog does have a stomach infection or all of these
anything underlying
type of scenarios,
any medical thing,
then contact Royal Vet. Again, I'll put the links below. And KJ, thank you so much.
Josh, great talking with you always.
All right. See you later.